On the Table. Cultural talks through cuisine.
مرحبا أنا اسمي سارة بيتار. Hello, my name is Sarah Bitar.
Hi, Sarah. What do you do?
I'm a trained actor, and that's what I do for the most part, but I also love to write and sing, and I run a theater company with friends. It's an international theater company. There's a dozen of us. We're from the Philippines, Greece, Germany, America, some parts of Latin America, and we always like collaborate with very international people.
Can you tell us what we're making today?
Hummus. What about hummus?
Yes. So what are the ingredients for your recipe for hummus?
So for hummus, you need 1 can of chickpeas or 1 cup of chickpeas, 1 clove of garlic, half a cup of tahini sauce. So it depends on where you are, but like if you're in New York or I guess anywhere in the US, you can find it at Trader Joe's. And then you would need 1 lemon, a little bit of water, and some salt. So yeah, and then for the garnish, it's best served with olive oil.
What would you actually eat hummus with? Is it a standalone, or what would suggest us eating it with?
Eat it with pita bread. Just like, again, garnish it with olive oil. Like olive oil is like the shit with it. So yes, dip pita in the hummus, or you can eat it with fries or potatoes. Like if you're baking potatoes, you can eat it with a nice salad because it's like good protein from the chickpeas. You can roll it in a tortilla or whatever with like vegetables and yeah, even avocados, which is a little weird because that's not how we eat it in Lebanon. I feel like this is just how like other cultures took hummus and turned it into, which is amazing, how people can get creative with.
Would you use it as a spread on sourdough bread, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely, or with crackers. That's a very good idea, yeah.
Amazing. Great. Any recommendations on places to go in Lebanon that wouldn't be too touristy?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, the food in Lebanon is just incredible. Like it's such an amazing cuisine, and it's very diverse and also healthy. I feel it's very hard to not make Middle Eastern food not healthy. I mean, obviously you can deep fry, there's deep fried fish and whatnot, but overall, I feel like honestly, it's very hard to find a quote unquote bad restaurant in Lebanon. I feel like it's such a food culture that wherever you go, you're gonna have amazing food. But I would recommend there's a chain of sweets called Dwayhi where you can find the knefe, which is an amazing dessert / breakfast. It's very sweet and fattening, but it's amazing. I also love this area, which is towards the north of Lebanon, called Byblos, or Jbel in Arabic, that's how we say it. And it's actually where the first alphabet was created, and it's called the capital of the book in Arabic. And it's by the Mediterranean Sea, and there's a very, very beautiful corner where you can find a couple of restaurants that sell fresh seafood. And it's such a beautiful place to be in because you would be sitting in this restaurant where I mean, I'm sorry about people who are vegan or vegetarian, but yeah, I mean, they offer such yummy seafood, and you can see the Mediterranean to the side, and then like an old castle, like made of very old um, bricks or rocks. And yeah, you can also get a view at the bay with all the different little boats, and time is just so slow, and people, like, you can't be sad there, or no, you can, like, you can be melancholic for sure, but you can't be stressed, you know. It's just like perfect. It's perfect. It's like out of a painting.
That's awesome. With everything that's going on, um, how is Lebanon doing, and how is your family doing under the current circumstance of COVID and Black Lives Matter?
So before the pandemic, Lebanon had, since October 17th, a period of revolution and protests and uprisings, and basically because the country was on a verge of an economic crisis, and the banks went bankrupt, and the people couldn't like take their money out of the banks anymore, and the people were just like sick of the corruption in the government, with the same people ruling for the past 30 years, who are basically warlords who fought in like the Civil War from 1975 to like 1990. And so people were like protesting against this government, and nothing was really changing, blah, blah, blah. And then the pandemic happened, and it was already like just crazy, especially with like inflation and the loss of the Lebanese currency against the US dollars. So everything went so high in prices, and because we import a lot of stuff, like hospitals import a lot of their equipment, or food is imported a lot as well. And usually these trades are done with the US dollars. So in order to get US dollars, you have to pay 4 times the amount you would pay like 6 months ago. So it's a very, very, very tough period for the country, and obviously with the pandemic, people have lost their jobs, and there was already like a crisis even without that. And right now, for example, my parents can't really help me over here, because like basically my mom's salary amounts to $200 because of the crisis, and my dad's salary amounts to, I don't know, 800, and that doesn't even pay my rent in New York, which is ridiculous. And with Black Lives Matter, there have been some protests in Lebanon as well against racism, which is amazing, but I also think that people over there don't really understand the issue, because it's not as big of a problem. Like the community, the African community is not as big in Lebanon, although there is a community that really suffers from racism, which is the workers who come from Ethiopia and Sri Lanka and other parts of Africa and the Philippines, like who comes into Lebanon to work, and they're just basically it's modern day slavery. So they basically whoever hires them, whatever home hires them, they have a hold of their passports, and they're not allowed to go out or take a break, and they are paid like so bad, like so yeah, that's very hard. And so there have been some protests in Lebanon against racism, but again, it's different than what's happening in the US, where like Black people, African American people are really part of this society, and they're a big part of it and big part of the culture, and still they suffer a systematic injustice. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one thing is that it did spark a lot of other countries to start to follow suit in terms of recognizing that racism is terrible, but also we all have to recognize that each country has their own personal issues already. For example, Thailand and the abductions that happens, and how we don't talk about that, but we talk about something that is beyond our countries, which is interesting to me
Yeah.
as well. Since you are from Lebanon, you do any tips for folks coming in from outside who are gonna come into the United States, or anything you wanted to tell yourself if you had known prior to coming to the States?
Thank you. I really enjoy being in New York, and it's such a free and rich place. I have learned so much ever since I had arrived to New York, which was 4 years ago. Um, and I feel very like, yeah, I've grown so much. This place forced me into growth. Like, I don't know how much, but I think the balance that I needed to find. Um, so I would tell myself stuff, but not to avoid the experience that I had, because I think it's very valuable, and it's important to go through these things in order to learn them. But I what I know is that it took me some time to find the balance between the very fast pace of the city, which is just wah! and to find spaces within myself where I can find stillness and peace and calm, and not get carried away with, being productive and like wanting to be everywhere because there's so much happening and all great things happening. So I think uh, that's where my struggle was. So I started meditating, and you know uh, learning that I don't have to be productive 18 hours a day. I can spend some time just chilling out, doing nothing, talking to a friend, having a chill, you know, vibe, watch a movie, like, or just like go for an hour walk or something. Um, so yeah, find the balance between yin and yang, action and inaction.
Amazing.
Yes.
As we take this pause, um, thank you so much for coming, and hope I'll see you in person at some point as well.
Yeah, thank you, Rio. Thank you for this, and it's an honor that you invited me to this.